Hey folks, how you doing? Papa Joe here. Look, it's daylight and I'm done for the day. I didn't make it home yet. I'll make it home in the morning. Well, it is what it is. 171 miles from the house. Actually, it'll be just a couple miles less than that. This thing always thinks I already go down this road a little ways. I won't do it. I'll go right there and hang a load. I'm here at the Midway truck stop again. This is where I started out my day. This is where I get to end it today. What a deal. And it's catfish night. Guess where the big man gonna be? In there with the all-you-can-eat catfish. You notice I got rid of my sleeves. I'm ready to put my bib on. Gonna tear them up. Actually, I ain't as bad as I used to be. At one time, I could put away some fish. They're pretty good. And hopefully they still have it on Friday night. Goodness. I was asked to make a video about hotshotting. He really wasn't sure what it was called, and it took us a couple messages to get on the same page. And he said, you know, the pickup trucks that haul stuff. And I thought, hotshotting. That's called hotshotting, people. And I happen to know just a little bit about it. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about anything, but I know a little bit about a whole lot. And there's 3 reasons I know a little bit about it. One is when my dad retired out of a big truck. I gotta get that wallet out of there, boy. It settled in wrong. And yes, it's Texas. When my dad retired out of a big truck, that's what he did. And I gave it a little bit of a whirl. I screwed it up because my head wasn't in the game. We'll cover part of that. And also, Michael's been exploring with it a little bit. Now let's go back to my first introductory to it, which was my dad. Like I said, he retired out of the big truck. And he had retirement coming in. So he was not doing it for an income, not to live off of. His whole thing, which is what I would like to do one day if I could ever afford it, or a version of it, is he ran the campers. We see all them out there all the time running them campers. He would run the campers out west or east, whichever, but he'd run them, and we'll say west for conversation. He'd run them out west, and he was getting paid to do it. Then he would pull that company's placards off, which was legal, and he would come back on his own accord. On his way back, all these state parks and all this stuff that we see in the big truck that we don't have time to go see, or it says no big trucks, well, he would stop and see all that stuff. And I'd asked him, I said, are you making any money, Pop? And he said, nah. He said, but it pays for my trip out here to go see stuff. So, no, he wasn't making no real money, but it was a paid vacation, so to speak, or a free vacation, however you want to say it. Now, when I went into it, I was rebounded from losing my son and my dad, and my head wasn't in the game right. I shouldn't have, it was bad timing on me to try it, to be honest with you, and I lost my ass. It put me in a financial bind that I still struggle from. For one thing, I picked the wrong truck. And I picked a truck that, a Ford, with a motor in it that was notorious for having problems. If I'd only known. It's my own fault. I didn't research the truck and the motor that much. I was mad. I'm a Mopar man. I like my Dodges. But I was mad because of the bailout, and Ford was the only one that didn't take a bailout. So I decided to go with Ford. And I got hold of a scrupulous or unscrupulous, or I got hold of an asshole for a dealer or a salesman. And I traded in my V10, which is gasoline, for this 6, which was diesel. So I thought I would need the diesel better. It would perform and stand up better doing what I was doing. And no, that was not the case. And I had issues with that truck on numerous occasions, and it wound up costing me the truck. In all honesty, it wound up costing Grandma her Camaro, and I wound up back in a company truck. And the only one to really blame is me. However, I will never buy Ford. They're all, no, I told that boy, well, he's a grown man. I told him what I was going through with losing the son and my dad and all this, and it was obvious that I didn't have my act together. And although it's my responsibility to make sure I was getting a good deal, he still took advantage of the situation. And I don't like that in anybody. I don't do it to people, and I don't expect them to do it to me. Had the wrong truck, and actually I had the wrong trailer. I had a 24 foot, I think it was, a dovetail, and it was not rated for enough weight. So I found myself needing to pull lighter loads. And the companies that I'd leased on with, which was another mistake, if you're going to do it, get your own authorities. With this computer age, you can find your own loads, people. You don't need a company, whether you're in a hotshot or a big truck. You don't need a company to find you loads. You don't need a company for your own authorities or your IFTA. That stuff is really fairly easy to get. And it's not that expensive. In this day and age, if you get on with OOIDA or someone that can do some of this stuff for you, they can walk you through getting all of everything that you need and make sure that you're right. And they can get you with a company that can keep you right. Filing all the necessary paperwork and all that. Yes, there's a little more that you'll have to do in the truck to give them the information they need to keep you right. The first company that I leased on with out of Baytown, Texas, they was the ones I was counting on to tell me what all I needed. And they did not have me set up right at all. They was cutting corners on their own equipment, and they had some of their own trucks, and I found out I wasn't legal. Luckily, not from DOT. They kept wanting to overload my trailer. They kept finding these heavy loads. I was only rated for like 10 or 12,000, and they're wanting to put 20,000 pound loads on me, and I'm like, no, you're not going to break my equipment down. It's not rated for that. It makes me illegal, and it's hard on my equipment. No, I ain't playing that. So they got a little bit agitated with me, and they commenced to try to starve me out. You've heard me talk about that before, where companies would try to starve you out. That's where they leave you sitting. You have heard me talking about being in Arkansas at a redheaded biker bitch's house for about over a week with her and her husband. It was during that time when they was claiming they couldn't get me a load out of Little Rock that I spent that week at her house, and I did my blog. I turned the cookbook into a blog, the Cross Country Cooking with Papa Joe. That's when I did that. They finally got me a load back towards Houston, and I pulled their placards off my truck. I'd had enough. The guy I got on with after that was in Missouri, and he was one of these Christian folks that likes to make sure you know he's a Christian folk. His ethics were not. He liked to question my Christian values, but didn't like his questions at all. How dare you question my Christian values? And I did. With him, I don't know. I can't say exactly what his problem was, but now my truck broke down on me, and he had told me in the beginning, because I told him what I just went through with the first one, and I don't have the capital if my truck goes down, and don't worry about it, I'll help you out. Well, when my truck did go out, the way he helped me out was put me in one of his big trucks at not very good money. So, and also while I was running my truck with them, they was wanting me to overload my truck or overload my trailer, and I would not do it. Why would you purposely tear up your equipment? If this what makes your livelihood, why would you tear it up? Why would you purposely overload your equipment when you know what it's rated for? Oh. Hold on a minute. Oh goodness, look at that sun now. That was Goat Bob. Gave me a call. We got to shoot the bull a little bit. I always like that. Y'all gotta wait a minute. I gotta do something with this sun, or you'll never be able to see my pretty mug. And I want you to know there are a few women on my channel that like seeing my pretty self. Well, maybe that's me liking to see my own reflection. I don't know, but still. Alright, there we go. That's gooder. Kind of lost track of where I was on that deal. But anyhow, my little episode with it was bad planning on my part, so y'all can learn from my experience. Get your own authorities. Make sure you're getting the right equipment. Personally, I would suggest that you get bigger than a 1-ton. I would suggest you get around a 2-ton. And find out before you buy it, what is its pulling capacity. It's rated to allow you to pull so much weight. Not carry, pull. There's a drastic difference. Same thing on your trailer. As you're getting your own authorities and whatnot, I don't remember the numbers, so don't quote me on these numbers. I think if you're under 28,000 gross, or maybe it's 32, 35, I don't remember. I think you don't have to have IFTA, which could save you a lot of hassle. But find out exactly what those numbers are. Don't trust my memory. I don't trust my memory, so you should. And now one of the discomforts of hotshotting is, you notice they all have crew cabs. Well, guess why? They're sleeping in that back seat. Very uncomfortable. Very, especially if you're a big wide boy. Very uncomfortable. Now, through Michael's work of trying to research it, I have found out that they actually have a kit that's not very expensive. A couple grand. I don't remember. What they do is they take the panels off back there. They fix the windows where they stay up. They won't go back down no more until you undo everything. And they swell out the doors. They cut them and stuff. There's a certain length that is required by DOT for you to call it a sleeper. Seriously, I didn't realize that. So those that those that you see without it, and myself included, I didn't have it. They were actually illegal, and they could have got popped on it. And it makes them more comfortable back there. So do a little research on that. And it does fit into a regular dually if you go with a regular 1-ton dually. What you keep hearing is my boy's cooking dinner with the grandbabies, and he's sending me pictures. And evidently a lot of them. There's a lot of people that put an extra fuel tank in the back. That's not all bad. A lot of them do it with a regular pickup bed. I would suggest that you put a flatbed or stake bed on there and have you some drop boxes and whatnot and a headache rack type box. Do a little bit of math. Now, two things you got to remember is, one, you're trying to get some storage, because in just a pickup you don't have a lot of storage for your personal stuff and for your gear, and it all has to be confined some way. You can't just lay it down or lay it in the bed. That's totally illegal. It has to be secured. But by the same means, you need to try to keep the weight down. One of the issues, if you're doing just a 1-ton and you start trying to do this, you start getting all the weight that you're supposed to be able to pull is now into all of your storage stuff. So there's a real fine line there. You got to do your homework for it. From my understanding, right now the average price that hotshots are being paid to tow the trailers, the travel trailers, the new ones, to move them out west. We said we're going to talk west. Is like $1.38 a mile, $1.32 a mile, and that pays going one way, and then you still have to give back. And with the hotshots, they have issues getting you a backhaul. So if you have to divide that $1.38 in half, that divides out to not very much. Now, grant you, your pickup will get a little bit better fuel mileage than the big truck, but we're not out here to break even. We're out here to make some money. So the deal about having your own trailer, I personally do not recommend the dovetail. Now, when you go talking to people, including trailer salesmen, they will tell you, and this is somewhere where me and Michael just wasn't meeting eye to eye, because I've had the experience of the dovetail. Yes, when your ramp's spode up, and a dovetail, for those that don't know, is your bed's flat, and then it dips down, and then you got two ramps that fold on down so you can drive stuff up on there. I know when them ramps are up, they call that a deck, but it's not a very good one. If you plan on hauling a lot of vehicles, that's one thing. If you don't, and what I tell people is to get ramps. That's what I was trying to tell Michael, was if he does that, he just needs to get longer ramps where he can just drive stuff up on there, not the dovetail. And plenty of these trailers, you want to get them as low as possible and have them with their ramps that are made with them to extend out, and get them as long as possible. Trust me, that can be an issue if you get short ramps and you go to drive something up. You can high center right there at the very back. So get them as long as possible. If you shoot for oversize, oversize does not mean heavy. You've heard me talk about this in the big trucks. Oversize does not mean heavy. So that you can haul some of these different specialized farm equipment and different things like this, and you don't have near the height if you've gotten them with a lower profile trailer. Okay? Even if you have to go with 3 axles, whatever you choose to do. But try to get a low profile trailer, not a dovetail, and have the ramps. What else can I tell you? Now, up to you. If you're retiring and you want to go see the sights like my dad, by all means, go with the travel trailers. That's not a real good way to make money unless you have a source to get you backhauls. Anything to do that. And there are places out there where you can get other stuff to haul. I was telling Michael, you all know I used to haul boats, and I was telling him if he's going out west, he can talk to the boat manufacturers, because they do have some boats that are actually too big to go on big truck trailers, that they need smaller vehicles, like 2 tons. 1 tons can do some of them. But now you're talking about a pretty heavy boat. Now, just because your truck can haul it, don't mean it's good on your truck. And if you're coming from out west, what is between you and east? A whole bunch of mountains. So when you go rigging your truck up, you need to make sure that you rig that truck up for the mountains. Don't worry about having a fast truck on the flatlands. Rig it up to pull a heavy load up the mountains. So you're going to be working on transmission coolers, making sure you've got a good radiator cooling system. Do your own homework. You know, I'm not a mechanic, so I can't tell you how to rig a truck up for climbing mountains. With this day and age of the internet, you can do your own homework and figure out what you need to do. So another biggie that you need to research when setting up is what rear ends you need to have in that truck. And all of this is why my dad ordered his truck. I couldn't afford to order one, but he ordered his. I wound up buying a used one, which was another mistake I made that hopefully y'all don't. If you can afford to buy a newer one, by all means buy a newer one. Get all the extended warranty stuff that you can, because if you're really working that truck, you're going to be putting some miles on it, and you're going to want warranty. If you break down out there on the road like I did, which mine was fuel injectors and stuff, it cost me a small fortune. They raked me. So, and there ain't nothing you can do, you know. So, it can be a hairy situation, but it can be profitable if you try to do it your own way. I was also telling Michael that I had a connection, I ain't gonna put it out there where, with some people that made cabs for trains, like the little work crew things you see going down the railroad. They made different cabs for different kinds of equipment like that. And they was begging me to come and be an in-house carrier. So cutting out the broker once again, much less cutting out the broker and the company. Which, see, that's something else if you're getting your own authorities. If you're leased on with somebody and using their authorities, Well, now they're having to pay a cut to the broker to get the load, and then they want their cut. So that pie done got 2 wedges out of it before it even gets to you. So you need to figure out how to get the whole pie, not just a couple pieces of it. You want the whole pie. So, well, that probably ain't a whole lot of help for you, but that's some help. I know if you go with a 2-ton or something, you could probably put a small sleeper on the back of it. That's actually what I would like to do, would be to get a 2-ton or maybe just a little bit bigger. I don't want to go too big. But if you do that, then you could put a sleeper behind it, and then you could put your work bed on the back with the fuel tank and all that stuff. So just do your homework a little bit. If you're already a driver, start talking to some of these hotshot people that you meet at the fuel island and stuff, and ask them what they would do different. You know, don't ask them about the money. Well, you can ask about the money, but don't make it about the money. Ask them, if you had to do it over again, what would you do different? Are you satisfied with this equipment you have, or would you do that different? And you're going to get a few assholes out there, but in general, most folks will try to give you a little bit of information. And don't ask just one and swear that his word is the gospel. You know, ask a few of them as your day's going along, or as your research is going along. Call some of the companies that you can lease on with, and don't tell them that you're not necessarily going with them. You know, talk to them about going on with them. What would I have to do to go on with you? What equipment do you require me to have? How do you suggest I get rigged up for doing this stuff? And call several companies and have a notebook. Take notes. You know, you'd be surprised how much information you're going to get if they think that you are getting rigged up to come to work for them. So there you go. You have done picked my brain, and now I'm brain dead. Maybe I was before I started. I hope it helped you out some, man. And anybody else that wants to check it out. Y'all remember, good Lord loves you, and so do I. Y'all have a blessed evening now. Bye.